Martha, I had friends over at the weekend and, well, they're big fans of yours anyway, but they particularly like the way you say Donald Trump. That Yorkshire pronunciation.
I have heard that before. I think it's the vowels, isn't it, with the Yorkshire accent, those flat
Yeah.
vowels. It's things like "no"
Eh,
and, Trump, clearly.
yeah, well, I'm thinking double O. It's double O, isn't it? Trump with a double O.
Yeah, Trump.
Trump. I love it.
Trump. Uh,
God's own pronunciation from God's own country. I love it. I'm James Matthews.
and I'm Martha Kellner.
It's Tuesday, the 12th of August, day 204 of Trump's second term. Martha, we know where he's going to be on day 207, Friday, don't we?
We do, same place as us, Alaska.
Yeah, we're taking the show on the road. You, me, Trump, and Putin all in the one place on Friday. Trump, well, he's calling it a feel-out meeting. Feels to me like he's lowering expectations. We'll take a look.
Plus, the day Donald Trump said was rescuing Washington, D.C. from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor. That's the reason he says that he's putting National Guard onto the streets of the nation's capital. He's calling it Liberation Day. We've heard that before. His opponents say it's a dark day for the country.
Martha, we'll get to all things Trump and Putin in a minute, but setting world peace to one side, let's address the other important business of the day, our podcasting schedule. For now, we're on our summer schedule, and that is changeable, yeah?
Yeah, and it is changing this week because of developments, this trip to Alaska. We're doing today and Friday as per the normal schedule, but we're also doing an extra episode on Saturday, which will be looking back at the Trump Putin summit. So mark your diaries for that. That's today, Friday, and Saturday, assuming, of course, that this meeting actually goes ahead. We don't have an exact location. It does seem to be very much on, though. Both presidents saying they're heading to Alaska. How long does it take you to get to Alaska? What's your route, James?
Well, I think it's going to be 8 hours, Martha. A direct flight, 8 hours, of course, longer than it takes to get back to the UK.
Yeah, and mutually inconvenient for both presidents
For
because
both
it
correspondents.
for it's gonna take me 5 hours, so it's a little bit more friendly for me.
It's not bad.
It will take Vladimir Putin 9 hours from Moscow and barely any better for Trump, 8 hours, as you say, direct from DC on Air Force One. There is, though, some sense in choosing Alaska. Certainly for Vladimir Putin, it avoids him flying over unfriendly skies. There's also this arrest warrant out for him by the International Criminal Court. That court not recognised by the US, so it takes away the jeopardy of that for him. But certainly these plans still very much in the air and White House officials scrambling in the background to try and set it all up in time.
Yes, this business of not having a location pinned down as we speak 4 days short of the summit is symptomatic, I think, of what feels very loose diplomatically. If this was
Yeah.
going to be a landmark peace deal, and that's how it seemed to be shaping up, there would typically have been months of negotiations behind the scenes, pinning down an agreement ready for the ceremonial signing. But here we are at this late stage, and listening to Trump, he seems to be freestyling his way through it. In a news conference today at the White House, he called it a feel out meeting. I think it'll be good, he said, but it might be bad.
That'll be
He's
reassuring
covering,
for those on the front line, won't it?
I mean, he's covering all options, giving himself an out,
Mm.
certainly, I think,
Yeah.
presenting, different potential outcomes. For anybody expecting big things, I think, Martha, it sounds to me like he's managing expectations downwards. The president, he was speaking at this White House news conference earlier.
I think we'll have constructive conversations. Then, after that meeting, immediately, maybe as I'm flying out, maybe as I'm leaving the room, I'll be calling the European leaders who I get along with very well. And, I have a great relationship, I think, with all of them. And I get along with Zelensky, but, I disagree with what he's done. Very, very severely disagree. This is a war that should have never happened, wouldn't have happened. But I'll be speaking to Zelensky. The next meeting will be with Zelensky and Putin, or Zelensky and Putin and me. I'll be there if they need, but I want to have a meeting set up between the two leaders.
That line about Zelensky is the one that really stands out, doesn't it? He said, I disagree with what he's done, very, very severely disagree. If Zelensky was suspicious of what's going to happen in Alaska on Friday before he heard that, it won't give him any comfort. It seemed lately, didn't it, that Trump was warming to Zelensky, to the Ukrainian cause. He, started issuing deadlines, sanctions against Moscow. He said he was very disappointed with Vladimir. He seemed to see the divide that most of the world does between good guy and bad guy. Clearly, what Zelensky will be fearing is a slide back to Donald Trump's old ways, a deference towards Putin that neglects Ukraine's interests.
Yeah.
He's not going to like the mood music here. Trump was asked in that press conference if Zelensky would attend the meeting. He said he could be part of a future meeting. It doesn't then sound like he's going to be on the guest list for Friday. European leaders have repeatedly said that Ukraine peace talks can't take place without Ukraine. That includes a spokesperson for Keir Starmer today who said peace cannot be imposed on Ukraine. It must be built and Ukraine must decide its own future. Their worry, Zelensky's worry, will be this shift in tone, this talk from Donald Trump about swapping of territories. That's scary for Ukrainians.
I was a little bothered by the fact that Zelensky was saying, well, I have to get constitutional approval. I mean, he's got approval to go into war and kill everybody, but he needs approval to do a land swap because there'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody to the good, for the good of Ukraine. Good stuff, not bad stuff. Also, some bad stuff for both. So there's good and there's bad. But it's very complex because you have lines that are very uneven, and there'll be some swapping, there'll be some changes in land, and the word that they will use is, they make changes. We're going to change the lines, the battle lines. Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine.
Those lines bothered by Zelensky, that's Trump talking on the Monday after the Saturday when Zelensky rejected the notion of a land swap. Zelensky's big concern is that Trump goes into this meeting with Putin. They reach an accommodation that suits both of them and their wider interests beyond Ukraine and, neglect the Russian aggression in this conflict, leaving Zelensky exposed to that side of Trump that we have seen before in the Oval Office, the president who blames Zelensky for the conflict, the intransigence, who blames him as an obstacle to peace.
Trump said that when he has this meeting with Putin, he'll know within the first 2 minutes if a deal is possible. He says he knows this because he makes a lot of deals. And there is a lot at stake for Trump here, clearly status, credibility, the Nobel Peace Prize. He's determined to land that, don't forget. A peace deal is only worth its name, though, if it's a good and lasting peace that doesn't offer encouragement to the aggressor. If Russia comes out of this with Crimea, Donetsk, Luhansk, that is that is not a good deterrence to Russia of launching a further invasion into Ukraine down the line or other sovereign states. The concern is that Trump gets played by Putin, who is a much savvier political negotiator than he is, a KGB veteran, and that he's merely after a sit down with the US president to reel him back in, to rekindle Donald Trump's reverence to him, to try and slow him down on sanctions, all the time furthering his ambitions to take more Ukrainian territory.
Yeah, and to take the plaudits that come with it, I think, as well, Martha. As you mentioned, he's wanted by the International Criminal Court. Trump said in that news conference that it was respectful for Putin to accept the invitation to come to the United States, a place that had absolutely not invited Putin to its territory because he is an international pariah. So the symbolism of this is very much Putin back in the fold.
One final note on this, James. Is Alaska American or is it Russian?
Good question, Martha. I know why you're asking it. It is, of course, American. Who knew?
Not Donald Trump, apparently. At that White House news conference, he said, I'm going to Russia on Friday. He referred to it as Russian twice. He is obviously a busy man, got last minute plans to attend to. So maybe he has an excuse. But imagine the uproar if Joe Biden had said the same on two separate occasions.
I suppose that's one land swap that isn't on the table on Friday. Mind you, you never know.
Now, James, it's Liberation Day in Washington, D.C., apparently.
Yeah.
Liberation Day today for Donald Trump means putting the police department under federal control and deploying the National Guard onto the streets of DC. This is because Trump says the capital of the United States is in the midst of a public safety emergency, one of the most dangerous cities in the world, he says. What is all this about?
Martha, never a man to knowingly undersell a policy. Liberation Day, that's what he's calling it. His opponents, I saw them label it as the president's most baffling press conference yet. Said that he was rescuing DC from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse. He's sending in 800 National Guard troops to the city, warning as well that he will bring in the military if needed. For UK listeners, the National Guard is, of course, America's part-time army and air force called in by states to handle disasters, unrest, and the like. Which makes me wonder about unrest in DC, Martha. I mean, you've lived here. I have to say, in my neighbourhood, crime just about extends to shoplifting of quinoa. I'm not sure it's a matter for the National Guard.
I was lucky enough to live in a fairly safe part of DC. I used to walk home at night after sort of going to see the basketball or something like
Mm,
that. And I never felt particularly unsafe, no
yeah.
more so than I would do in any big metropolitan city.
One thing I would say, one contrast I find with here in the UK is the number of police on the streets. You can't walk 100 yards without seeing a police car. And so they certainly seem to have the numbers of law enforcement on the ground.
I think that's it though, isn't it? It's what is the reason all of a sudden for bringing the National Guard into DC? Because
Hmm.
actually the figures don't bear out some of the claims that Donald Trump is making. Actually, violent
Yeah.
crime was at a 30-year low in 2024. That's according to the Justice Department. As for the murder rate in DC, there was an unusual spike in murders in 2023. That was a global trend. They've fallen dramatically since then. Yes, there are clearly parts of DC which can be dangerous late at night. There are parts of DC which have gang issues. But why now? Is this all just a distraction from other things that are going on? A lot of people say, is this Trump trying to distract from the Epstein files and the
Hmm.
furore around that? What is the reason behind this? Because with Trump, there's always a reason behind it. Is it a precursor to federalizing police in other cities? He's mentioned Detroit, Chicago. We had the National Guard here in LA recently, a reaction to the immigration protests here, which the mayor of this city, the mayor of LA, said was an inflammatory move by Trump, and that it wasn't something that the people of LA were asking for. So, it's an extraordinary move by him.
DC's Mayor Muriel Bowser, she's calling this decision unprecedented and unsettling. I think it will unsettle those who see Donald Trump, and his opponents very much do see him as an aspiring autocrat. They'll
Mhm.
see this as further evidence of a creeping autocracy, I think. The use of
Yeah.
troops at his whim, introduce uniforms as a routine presence on the streets, a routine idea. And, all the while sending this message there's a
Mhm.
problem here and only I can fix it.
Mhm.
Sure, there are many who will say this is all quite right. There is danger on the streets
Mhm.
and something needs done. But there are others who will say this is part of a playbook that doesn't have a happy ending.
I guess there's also the question of what exactly the National Guard will be doing in
Yeah.
DC. My understanding is they're not going to be carrying weapons with them. They will have weapons in their vehicles that are nearby should they need to use them. When the National Guard were deployed in LA, they were given a very specific role to protect federal buildings, so national government buildings here, and to accompany immigration agents as they were conducting raids and operations on the streets. We don't know what they'll be doing in DC, really, do we? And we don't know quite, how big a change this will be for the people in DC.
Okay, that's it for this episode. We'll be back in your feeds on Friday morning from Alaska as we gear up for this summit. And I don't mean Long Johns.
I'm struggling to know what to pack because it's
Uh,
it's rainy.
somebody told me it was British, actually.
I was thinking that it looks like a British October weather forecast. So
Yeah.
dress
Well, I'll be wearing my
accordingly.
cheap suit as ever, Martha. I won't be disappointing you.
You'll be wearing it well, I'm sure, James. But we'll have an episode both before and after Trump and Putin's meeting. No doubt there'll be plenty to chat about.
Yeah. In the meantime, do email us on trump100@sky.uk if you want to get in touch.
See you on Friday.